Are you having problems landing new clients or converting your break-fix customers into managed services? If that's the case, maybe you should step back and look at how you're positioning your products and services in the market. Maybe, just maybe, your offer sucks. In this episode of the IT Provider Network, I'm going to share with you a new way of looking at how you communicate with your prospects and clients and how you can close new business.
Welcome to the IT Provider Network. Are you a managed service entrepreneur wanting to take your business to the next level? Do you excel in IT, but feel your business management could be better? Join Terry Rossi, where every episode he shares the skills, tips, and tricks that helped him to build a successful worldwide business.
I've spent the last year or so studying online marketing and really marketing and selling in general. I've attended a ton of conferences, I've availed myself to some of the best thought leaders, and I've come to realize one thing. I should have started studying the psychology of marketing and sales a lot sooner in my career. So much of what we do and say influences the minds of our buyers. I've talked about the belief of your sales team in recent episodes, but today I want to talk about the beliefs of the buyer and how what you offer and how you offer it is a big part of their buying decision. So first, let's talk about your offering. What are you offering? How are you pitching your managed services to your clients? If you're like many of us, you're pitching some sort of the 4 blocks that Gary Peak has traveled the world telling us about at conference after conference. With all due respect to Gary, it's kind of old news, and there was probably 3 other managed service providers that walked into your prospect before you and pitched the same thing. For those of you that don't know what the 4 blocks are, here's a quick introduction. They consist of 4 distinct service groups. Centralized services, this is everything you can do with your RMM tool. Things like disk cleanups, antivirus, anti-malware, and all the other stuff that you can leverage throughout your client base. The second one is network administration, and this is what Gary calls your superpower. Personally, it's never really been a superpower for my company, but network administration consists of everything you do for your clients to standardize them. It's the documentation. It's the standard adoptions within your technology stack. It's the server maintenance, all the stuff like that, UPS maintenance, all the stuff that deals with the infrastructure. The third block is your help desk, and this one's pretty self-explanatory. It's probably the bulk of what most service providers actually deliver, regardless of what they're selling. And the last block is technical consulting, or VCIO. And this is the part of the service delivery where your technical consultant, or maybe that's even you, meets with the clients, helps them make a technology budget, strategize on some future direction for technology, and utilize technology in a way that moves the company forward. Now, if that looks like your offering, congratulations, you have a commodity offering. Everything in that stack, except for probably the last thing, technical consulting, your prospect really doesn't care about. Unless they've had some sort of significant security breach or some regulatory body is breathing down their neck, they really don't care. Patching, spam, antivirus, they don't care about that. They just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to have it. Believe me, I've seen their eyes glaze over many, many times in sales pitches. So how should you define your offering? What should you include? You need to include more of what will help them fulfill their desires and face their fears, alleviate their fears. So here's a couple tips on really zeroing in on what they want. Remember, when you're dealing with a buyer, the buyers buy what they want, not what they need necessarily. We go in there trying and sell them what they need. In reality, they want to buy what they want. So what do they want? They want pretty much the same things that you and I want as business owners. They want to attract more business. They want to be more competitive. They want to have a more efficient workforce, and they want to put more money to the bottom line. So let's craft an offer that helps them achieve these things. I know what you're thinking. Terry, I'm an IT guy. I'm not a business consultant. Yeah, I get that. But maybe we can craft an offer that incorporates what you do deliver in a way that your prospect wants to hear it or fulfills what they want. So the first thing I would suggest you do is start with a new offer. What I mean by this is your offer needs to look entirely new in their eyes. If it's an improvement, they're less likely to bite on it. Let me explain what I mean. If I gave you 2 options, which one would you prefer? You could put an additive in your gas tank, and by doing that, you get 50 miles to the gallon. Your car would be twice as efficient. Or I could put you behind the wheel of an all-electric Tesla, drive it down the road, you get 50 miles to the gallon. Which one would you choose? Wouldn't you go for the Tesla? I mean, improvement is hard. It doesn't excite you. It doesn't do anything to move the needle. You have to go in there with a new approach. So if you go in and tell them how their break fix doesn't work and that the old IT guy was incentivized on their systems not running well, you might be right, but you're also forcing them to admit to themselves that they made a mistake. They have a ton of preconceived notions about why it already failed, and an improvement to that will only force them to look at those failures again and those notions, those stories that they have in their brain. There's a lot more to this, but the gist of it is that to help your prospect improve, you need to get them to admit that they previously made a mistake with their old decision. In their minds, they need to shed all the false beliefs that your offering isn't more of the same thing that's already failed them. Improvements are hard. They come with baggage. New offerings don't. They don't require the buyer to wrestle with the fact that they've already failed. Is this making sense? I hope so. So what you need to do is shape your offering in such a way that you address and break down those false beliefs that they already have. We all have beliefs. They guide us in all of our decisions. Whether or not these beliefs are true doesn't really matter. They influence us either way. When you pitch your new offering, your prospect's mind's going to immediately fill with beliefs that have been formed from their experiences. Figure out what experiences have shaped them. Figure out what possible objections they have, and then use that against them in your stories. Figuring this out isn't easy, but it is the key to your long-term success. You all know how hard it is to get a new appointment. You need to improve on each and every one of those appointments. Whether or not you're the one going on site or someone on your sales team, you need to do what I call a post-mortem after every appointment. Document each and every question the prospect asked. These questions are what you're going to use to help build your stories around their objections and their general questions. If you stick around to the end, I'm going to give you a way to get the postmortem sheet that we use in our MSP so you can start doing this right away. It's really key that you use that intelligence on subsequent appointments. You can also use it on your website. Use it for content marketing. Build blog articles and landing pages around these questions. So what I'm talking about is kind of pre-framing the client. You need to pre-frame them. Get them in a state of mind where they're really receptive to your new offering. Do this by telling those stories that counteract their false beliefs. Tell stories that include what they have traditionally done. Tell them why it doesn't work, and then show them why your offering does work. Now, I say tell them that, but tell them in a parable way. Tell them in a story that doesn't directly attack their beliefs, but derails them. You're planting a new belief in their mind that's going to be different from the one they have. Let me give you an example. If you're at a conference and someone says, hey, there's this MSP, Terry Rossi. He thinks he's somebody. He's making a podcast. You should go hear it. It's at the itprovidernetwork.com. You're going to form an opinion of that. But if somebody at the same conference were to come up to you and say, hey, there's this MSP, Terry Rossi. He's built an MSP that's been in the top 500 MSPs worldwide for the last 6 years. He's got some really great information. You should go listen to it. It's at the itprovidernetwork.com. You're going to have a totally different feeling about me. This is going to happen before you ever saw or heard of my offering. So it's important that you do the same thing with your clients. Pre-frame them. You can do this in email. You can do this at the beginning of the appointment. You can do this on a telephone call prior to coming. But you need to really start working on this. Be intentional about it. Of course, you're going to feel uncomfortable at first, but I'm telling you, roll with it. Everyone sucks at the beginning. Everyone sucks at everything at the beginning. But you get better. The stories will start to flow easier, and it'll work for you. Don't worry if you can't include yourself or your company in this story at first. Borrow someone else's story. That's okay too. Go find a story that matches it. Find a parable. It doesn't really matter where it comes from. Don't lie, but it doesn't need to be your own story. And remember, it's iterative. As you plant new stories in their mind, as you derail their false beliefs, the buyer is going to come up with new objections. They may not voice them. They may not talk about their new objections, but they're going to pop into their head. You're going to say something's going to pop in their head that's going to make them believe it's not true. So anticipate that. Anticipate the new objections and keep displacing them during your conversation. You can say something like, you may be thinking this, or you may be thinking this, and let me tell you, those types of things. Work them into your conversations and displace these new objections that pop up. The pre-framing stories will dispel their false beliefs and lead them to their own conclusions. The conclusion that you want. The conclusion that your offer is the correct one. You're going to be able to do this all without really selling. You're going to be telling stories and you're going to be changing their minds. So now that you've redefined your offering, you've addressed the wants of your prospect, you've dealt with their wants and desires, not what you really think they need, I want you to remember to pitch your offering with absolute conviction. You need to go in there with the attitude that your solution is the only solution for the client, the only way they're going to fulfill their desires and address their needs. Addressing the things they desire most, profit, revenue, productivity, uptime, whatever desires that you've derived from your notes from the previous appointments, use these desires to make them believe that the only way to get them is with your offering. What you're offering today, right there and then. And remember, the last thing you say, the last thing you talk about is going to be the thing that they remember. So make sure you leave them with all your best stuff. Close strong. Recap all the parts of your offer. If you don't recap them, they're only going to remember the last feature or benefit you talked about. Recap it all as a way to close the meeting. So I hope that's helpful. That's it for episode 32 of the IT Provider Network. I want to thank everybody for the great feedback I received over the last week and a half. I got some really great emails from some of the listeners, and I'm truly grateful for that. Thank you all for tuning in. Let me know what you think of this episode. Let me know what you think about dispelling the false beliefs of your buyers. Shoot me an email. You can reach me at terry@itprovidernetwork.com. I look forward to hearing from you. And if you have a moment, head over to iTunes or Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcast and the IT Provider Network, and give me a rating and review. I would really appreciate it. Each one of them makes my day and makes it easier for me to record the next podcast. So that's it. Have a great day. And remember, we are IT. Oh, I almost forgot. If you want the sales review sheet, pop on over to the itprovidernetwork.com and grab it from our resources page.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you've been inspired. Check us out on social media via @ITProviderNet and visit us at www.itprovidernetwork.com for past episodes, show notes, videos, and more. And we hope you'll join Terry next time on the IT Provider Network.